of sines, when we do the law of sines, this should be in your notes, so don't write these down. Whenever we're doing the law of sines, we have to have a pair. So it would be either an angle side or a side angle triangle. But when you're using or doing the law of cosines would apply to a side angle side triangle or a side triangle. So I know this looks intimidating, this formula, but I promise you it's not that bad. Basically, the law of cosines can be arranged depending on what you're looking for. But this is what I want you to notice. If I started with a big A, I end with big A. Sorry, if I started with a little a, I end with big A. If I start with little b, I end with big B. If I start with little c, I end with big C. What does this remind you of? This a squared equals b squared plus c squared. Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so we always start with that. And then it's minus 2 times whatever two sides times the cosine of the angle. So we're going to work with it a lot. I actually am ahead in 5th period, and we started it yesterday. The first day they thought it was really, really hard, the formula. But once you do it over and over again, it's really not that bad. This is homework 15, is due next Tuesday. Okay, so let's look at example 1 on page 12. I have triangle HJK. And they tell me that H is 34, little j is 7, and little k is 10. Do I have enough information to use the law of sines? No. In order to use the law of sines, I would have to know little h. And we don't know little h. So whenever there's an angle in between two sides, that would be the law of cosine. So I'm going to write, because this is using variables a, b, and c, I'm going to write out the law of cosines using h, j, and k. So you have to start with whatever is opposite of that one angle. So I'm going to start with little h. So I'm going to start my formula with little h, and it's going to end with big H. So let's just write out the formula. It's going to be h squared equals, or what are my other two letters? J squared and k squared. Minus 2 times those two sides. And then the cosine of h. So the way it is arranged depends on the problem. This is just showing you how it would be arranged. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. Now this, if you're using the law of cosines to find a side, is very simple. So actually, I'm just going to take my h. I'm going to type this all under a square root in my calculator. See, because h is squared, so I'll have to square root my answer. So little j is 7, little k is 10, minus 2 times little j, little k, and then cosine 34 degrees. So type that whole thing in your calculator, just like that, and you'll have little h. So if you type that whole thing under, and that, again, the reason why is because h is squared. So you will have to square root the number. So I just say, just type it all under a square root. The whole thing should be under the square root. And you should get 5.739. Did anybody else get that? 5.739? All right. So now we got to find our two angles. We got to find, yes. I didn't hear you. You're putting it in wrong? Okay. So now we need to find angle J and K. Okay. So I like to do things in alphabetical order, so I'm going to do J first. So now I'm going to write the law of cosines. How would I write it if I'm looking for angle J? If I'm looking for angle J, I have to start with little j. So my formula will start little j squared equals, what are my other two sides? Now it's not j and k, it's going to be what? H and k. So h squared plus k squared. Then it's minus 2 times hk cosine of big J. Now, unfortunately, when we're using the law of cosines to find an angle, we have to solve it like an equation. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's start by substituting in our values. So little j squared, what was little j? 7 is going to equal h squared, which we just found, plus k squared, minus 2 times those two sides, and you end with the cosine of big J. So if you have highlighters or color pencils, this will be a good time to take it out. But when you're solving this, we have to chunk it into 3 pieces. First, we're going to find this number. We're going to keep this separate. Then I'm going to get this number and keep that separate. Lastly, this number, keep that separate. The reason why, and here's the biggest mistake students will make, is they will put this whole thing in their calculator just like that, but you can't. This is just like if the equation said 7 equals 5 minus 2x. Could I subtract the 5 and the 2? No. This is connected to J. So we can't just move it away. The only way I can get rid of that green box is to divide it. So pick up your calculators and find those 3 numbers. Find the pink number, find the blue number, find the green number. So first I put in 7 squared, hit enter. And then I put in 5.739 squared plus 10 squared. Just that piece. Hit enter. And then I'm going to type in 2 times 5.739 times 10. And this is what I got. So I have to solve this like an equation. The next thing I'm going to do is subtract. What am I subtracting from both sides? The blue. So let's subtract that 132.96 from both sides. So take 49 minus 132.936, and that will give you a negative 83.936. And that's going to equal, don't forget that there is a negative or a subtraction sign in front of that green box. We can't drop it. So that's going to equal negative 114.78 cosine of J. These are being multiplied. So in order to get rid of that 114, I have to divide it. So I'm dividing both sides, not subtracting, not adding, dividing. This is going to cancel out. So in order to find, so I'm going to have this equals cosine J. So in order to find J, what do you have to do? If you're trying to find an angle, you have to take the inverse. So you're going to take the inverse cosine of that fraction. So when I did that, I got 43.006. Anybody else get that? So big J is 43.006. So now let me go back out. I'm going to zoom out for a minute, but I'll zoom back in. Big J is 43.006. Now, we can find big K easily by using triangle sum. So go ahead and find big K. Big K is going to equal 180 minus big H, which was 34, minus big J, which is 43.006. So my answer for big K is 102.994. We don't have an ambiguous case, none of that. Those would be my three answers. And we did that, we solved it by using the law of cosine. Any questions about that? All right, let's look at the next one. Example 2. Let's draw out the triangle. So now we got triangle ABC. I know big C is 60. Little a is 2. Little b is 3. You have to start by finding what? What do I have to start with? What do I have to start with finding? There's only one thing I can find right now. Little c, because I have big C. And I have the other two sides. So I'm going to write it out. So if I'm finding little c, it's going to be c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2 ab cosine of c. Fortunately for us, anytime we're trying to find a side, we could just type that whole thing in under a square root. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my little a squared plus little b squared minus 2 times 2 times 3 cosine 60. So we could just type that whole thing in. So I got, for little c, I got 2.646. Anybody else get that? So now I got to find big A and little a. Sorry, big A and big B. So I'm going to go with big A. So if I'm trying to find angle A, that means I have to start the law of cosines with little a. So it's going to be a squared equals the other two sides minus 2. Now, unfortunately, whenever we're using the law of cosines to find an angle, we have to solve it. So again, we got to chunk this. We got 3 different numbers. We got to find this number. Then we have to find this number. And lastly, we have to find this number. So we are going to subtract the blue box from the green box. And then whatever answer we get, we divide it by the pink. All right, who got 40.894 for big A? All right, good. So now to find our last one, which is angle B, we're going to take 180 minus that 40.894 minus 60. Thank you. And I got 79.106 degrees for big B. And that is the law of cosines. So I know the formula looks intimidating, but it's really not that bad. If you just remember, whatever you start with, you have to end with. It's the Pythagorean theorem. All right, now let's use it for a side triangle. So in this one, they didn't give us any angles. All they told me were the sides. So I have triangle DEF. All right, little d is 4, little e is 3, little f is 6. So we're going to have to use the law of cosines and solve it twice, and then triangle sum for the last one. So I do things in alphabetical order. So I'm going to start with angle D. So I'm going to set up my law of cosines. So that would be little d squared equals the other two sides squared. See how that looks like the Pythagorean theorem? And then you're subtracting 2 times those two sides that are in the middle. And we're ending with the cosine of the angle we're trying to find. So let's go ahead and fill it in. So we know that little d is 4. Little e is 3, 6. Okay. So again, we got this number, we got this number, and we have this number. We have to subtract the green, divide the blue. So go ahead, take a moment. I'm going to come around and see who is getting the correct answer. All right, who got 36.336?
The queen.
All right, that's what I got too. I'll come around and help you if you didn't. Take a moment to look at the work. All right, so next I'm going to find angle E, because that comes next in the alphabet. So let's write out the law of cosines for angle E. So it's 2 negatives. So you have to put 2 negatives in. Or just realize that a negative divided by a negative is positive. And just don't put any negatives in. So if I'm trying to find angle E, this is how I'm going to set it up. Little e equals the other two sides minus 2 df cosine E. So let's do it. Who's running for, have they talked about like prom king and queen yet?
Yeah, I think
Wow.
I had an email that said, put down. You think about it? No. Oh, okay.
It's really overhyped. Bring me a snack. Yeah. You should go eat first.
All right, so E should be 26.384, and then our last one would be angle F. But since we know 2, that one is easy to find. You can use the law of cosines if you want to, though. So minus D, which is 36.336, and minus E, which is 26.384. Go ahead and find your angle F. I am passing out the study guide. I don't know, should I pass it out? I'm pass it out Monday. I'll pass out the study guide on Monday. All right, so I got for big F 117.28. All right, let's end there for today.